Here's your host, Alex Garrett.
Well, thanks for those who listened to my St. Patrick's Day, St. Joseph's comparisons and synchronicity, if you will. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you enjoyed the latest edition of Mario Gallucci's Mr. Acquittal. What happens when your client makes a boneheaded move within his case while trying to become acquitted? And has Mario himself, as the criminal defense attorney, overcome that? We talked about it in episode 3 of Mr. Acquittal, which you can find in the description below. Now, it is March 20th, so a little bit of today is going to focus on the fact that we are another month away from January 20th, 2025. We are, what is it now? Like 8-9 months away from January 20th, 2025. So we're going to go into the road to 270, if you will, and how the Electoral College has changed from 2020. We'll get into that with Lisa Desjardins' article in a moment. But yesterday I mentioned I wanted to play this audio from the Hoyt-Schermerhorn subway shooting in which an EDP pulled out a gun on an innocent bystander who was just minding his own business and being harassed by said EDP. And then in self-defense, the guy took the gun and shot him. And I think he made the subway safer because of it. And he's not been charged, by the way. But during this standoff, an altercation, if you will, here's what one strap hanger said in that A train at Hoyt-Schermerhorn.
Where's the NYPD? Oh my God.
Great question. And you know what's interesting is, are we starting to see the city want more cops on the streets? I mean, when you hear a comment like that, don't you think it reflects everybody who's seeing some of the subway shovings that have gone on, this shooting in Brooklyn, some of the other, even, midday stabbings and other horrors that the city does endure? And while I still believe we can be, and we typically are, the safest city in the world, these crimes start to add up. But I do want to tell you what the NYPD is saying, and we've had Kaz Daughtry on the radio before with Arthur Aidala. Here's what he said about that shooting.
We all heard about what happened yesterday, but nobody's talking about the millions and thousands of people that got to their destination safe.
And I agree with that, and maybe a younger me would be like, well, what do you mean? Why are you discounting this? But having worked with, Chief Kemper and having even seen Blue Bloods, it all culminates to this is a tough job for the NYPD. I think we can all agree with that. And it's more unbelievable this happened the week that the National Guard was deployed. I thought this was the whole point, was to prevent such trauma in the subway, such a shooting in the subway. I just think it shows New York, anything happens on a dime, but the more people feel like they can carry, even without a license and a permit, the more we're going to have situations like we had last week. Thank God a good Samaritan took it into his own hands and got rid of the EDP that was causing trouble. I had to say it so aggressively, but that's what I feel. In self-defense. But watching Blue Bloods, having this scene happen in real life also, it does keep it in perspective how we shouldn't be blasting our headsets in the subways, how we shouldn't be on our cell phones all the time in the subways. Even sleeping could be a risk on the subways. Now, do I still do all those things? Sometimes, but I'm working on it. But when you say, hey, where's the NYPD? Doesn't that make you feel like on a larger perspective with 2024 here, on March 20th, 2024, when President Trump touted he's going to have a better plan in New York because of situations like this, because of questions like that? Don't we want someone who's going to stand behind law enforcement and what they do in the Oval Office? I think that's what we're seeing in that question. Where's
the NYPD? Oh my God.
I mean, it's quite an amazing statement considering 4 years ago how many people wanted to defund the police, and some still do, but luckily the rhetoric's died down because we're seeing how heroic cops are being in our city. I mean, the other day in Brooklyn, mid-daylight or mid-evening, a guy was targeting a Brooklyn couple, and then NYPD shot him down. And for those who just want to read the headlines, I would encourage you to see Blue Bloods because you'll understand the rationale. You'll understand the day-to-day experiences of these cops better than the newspapers will tell you, to be very honest. And listen to Arthur Aidala. He has Chief of Patrol John Shell. He has Chief Kemper. Sometimes Mayor Adams. I mean, he gets the pulse of the city. But I digress. I think that question of law enforcement in our subways, where are they? Clinging to them is the general sense of where we're at right now. Who will keep us safe? And if it's going to be each other, the innocent bystander who gets in an altercation because the EDP is egging him on, harassing him, then we need more of those heroes as well. And we can't prosecute them while a cello basher goes free. Alvin Bragg. How is it possible that Daniel Penny is still being prosecuted and was prosecuted, but you let a cellist out and the judge let the cellist basher out? Doesn't make sense. So yes, I think whoever swears on the Bible, January 2025, on the road to 270, this question here in New York is going to be a big one when it comes to the presidential election. Now, I want to get to Lisa Desjardins. She wrote this article in PBS NewsHour, why just 9 states may win the election, may decide the election. Lisa Desjardins, a correspondent for PBS, writes that the census reallocated, the 2020 census, congressional seats and electoral votes based on population shifts. Turns out, Biden had won California, Illinois, Michigan, New York, and Pennsylvania. But each of these states, New York, lost an electoral vote due to population shift. Because they're all moving to Florida. Isn't that insane? That we've lost a vote in the election because of policies in this state, which have caused people to move out. So we lose an electoral vote. It's all connected here. It's all connected when you have high taxes. You couldn't really recover from the pandemic as you could have. 546,000 people have moved out of New York since the pandemic. And because of that shift, we lost a vote in our elections. While Colorado and Oregon gained. This math, according to Lisa Desjardins, breaks down that Democrats start down 3 electoral votes compared with 2020. Based on these new districts, the 2020 Electoral College, according to the Washington Post, would be Biden 303, Trump 235. That means, according to Lisa Desjardins, the Washington Post, and the new calculations, Trump would need to gain 35 votes to earn the 270 to win the White House. 35 votes on the table. Can they come from New York? Will they come from New York? And even Pennsylvania? Where Philadelphia is not all sunny, if you will? I'm not saying either way who you should vote for. I'm just telling you the facts of where we're at right now. and maybe speculating a little bit. Desjardins goes on. 72 electoral votes are at stake. 72 in what they're calling the squeaker states. 5 states forming the core battleground, which are no longer, the Michigans and the Pennsylvanias and the Floridas even. Here are the battlegrounds that Lisa Desjardins says are at stake. Arizona, 11 electoral votes. Georgia, 16 electoral votes. North Carolina, 16 electoral votes. Pennsylvania, typical battleground, 19 electoral votes. And Wisconsin, 10 electoral votes. Those are the 72. Arizona, 11. Georgia, 16. North Carolina, 16. Pennsylvania, 19. Wisconsin, 10. She then breaks down the next tier of potentially persuadable states, in which in 2020, 3 and 6 percentage points made the difference last time around. These states I'm about to talk about make up for 91 electoral votes. Ready for them? Florida, 30. 15 electoral votes for Michigan. Nevada, 6 electoral votes. And Texas, 40 electoral votes. That's always one of the biggest states because it is the biggest state in the union. She's predicting that of the core 4 battleground states lost in 2020, Trump would need to flip at least 2 and possibly 3 of them in the Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin category to win. In Donald Trump's favor, Biden's winning margins were smaller in 2020 than Trump's were on average. Trump has more states he must win, but he may have less work than Biden. But Trump's going to go all over the place in 2024. And Biden, I guess, walked off the stage. Look, whoever touches the Bible and swears in with Justin Roberts, January 2025. No one said this road to 270 was going to be easy. No one said this road to 270 was going to be fun, typically. Maybe for the media, but these candidates, and if Biden's stamina could keep up, he's going to have to keep up with Trump. Then it goes beyond that. The road to 270, the road to January 2025, will get messy. There will be trials that might influence all of this. There's, right now, less than a week to secure a $500 million bond before Trump's buildings are seized. So there's a lot going on in the moment right now. Biden's competence, Biden's age, Biden's, why he keeps wandering off. And then Trump's legal woes. That still might sway where we are in July, around the convention time. I think the Democrats are waiting for a moment. This is opining here. For Biden to really slip up, and then they pull the 25th Amendment. While they hope the trials are in their favor against Trump. And legislation that they're trying to put through, to take him off the ballot for real, that's not legislation's and Senate and Congress's position. They should let the voter decide the road to 270. But there you have it. The Electoral College breakdown. I'm going to put it all in the description below. But 35 major delegates needed for Trump. And listen back for the electoral vote breakdown per state. I love the way Lisa Desjardins did this, why just 9 states may decide the 2024 election. Read it. Inform yourself. That way on election night, you might be able to be a little bit nerdy with your friends. Oh, did you know how many votes he needs here? He needs here. As the totals come in, as the tallies come in on election night 2024. But where we are in March, nothing feels as locked in as the media says. That's where we are at on the road to 270.